First off, allow me to explain that there were more things that I had planned for this month. I just didn't get around to doing them. Initially, I wanted to add an entry for the 3 weeks of October I had left. Unfortunately, not long after I uploaded the last entry 2 weeks ago, I began passing of kidney stone. Now, for those of you who have never done this before, let me just explain that kidney stones are the ultimate form of suffering on Earth. This one was particularly big. I mean, there was a 50-50 chance I would actually have passed it. It took me a whole week, bear that in mind, a whole week to pass it. Now, the one thing you don't want to do while passing a kidney stone is work. And for a whole week, I was out of work. I couldn't even write a script until after I passed it, so needless to say, we're now in our second week, and as fate would determine this to remain to be a bi-weekly vlog, here I am, talking about a movie I recently watched. Now, before I even begin to talk about this movie, I would just like to point out that I don't normally watch Madea movies. I don't have anything against them, they entertain people well enough, I'm sure. I'm assuming that's why Tyler Perry keeps making them. Of course, they keep making Transformers movies, and I can't think of anyone who actually claims to watch them. And look at how many of them we got now. Anyway, I've only seen 3 Madea movies so far. There's currently 10 entries in this film franchise, and I've only seen 3, willingly, and of my own volition. The first one I've seen was Diary of a Mad Black Woman, the first entry in the series. I considered that generally to be a mistake, but the previews made seemed like a good idea at the time. Then I saw last year's entry, Boo, a Madea Halloween. Although I still believe the previews to be largely misleading, I'll admit I still enjoyed it. The third one I saw is the one I'm currently addressing today, Boo 2, a Madea Halloween. Or Mad Black Woman Ernest Scared Stupid Goes to Camp. Yeah, I got this strange notion going on that Madea is actually this generation's Ernest P. Worrell. Now, for those of you who came in late, in other words, any one of you who were born in the mid to late 90s, Ernest P. Worrell was a comedy act, portrayed by the late great Jim Varney. Now, he was everywhere in this role in the late 80s and early 90s. Movies, TV shows, commercials for various products, you name it, he was probably there. It was a very prolific act, much like how Madea appears to be nowadays. And like the Madea movies, they weren't exactly... I started to use the phrase sophisticated viewing experiences. Let's just say it wasn't like Citizen Kane, The Godfather, or Casablanca, or anything like that. And they really didn't try to be. They're just movies you watch because they're funny, simple, and entertaining. I don't see a problem with that, honestly. I like movies that can have that sort of simplicity. I don't want to have to think about what I watch all the time. Anyway, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen the first Madea Halloween movie, but in the first movie, Madea, portrayed by Tyler Perry, and her friends were dealing with a prank run by a college fraternity after they ran afoul their Halloween party while trying to retrieve her underage grandniece, Tiffany, portrayed by Diamond White, from said party. This year, Tiffany, now the age of 18, has again run off to go attend this year's Halloween party. However, instead of having it at their frat house, primarily due to events that transpired in the last film, they instead decide to hold it at this Camp Crystal Lake parody called Camp Derek in the middle of the night. So naturally, Madea and her friends try again to retrieve her. However, strange things start going on. They have to contend with ghosts, psychos, and various other scares again. So what are the upsides of this entry? Well, in comparison to last year's entry and this year they stepped up in the game a little bit by having it be a bit more of a mystery aspect. I mean, last year, you knew exactly what was going on. You knew very well it was a bunch of college students tormenting poor Madea and her friends, and you felt like you were kind of in on the mischief and mayhem. This entry, you don't know what's going on. The prank is being pulled on you as well as everyone else. I have to say, it is a bit of a step up. Also, there was this final twist at the end. I mean, I was kind of hoping they did that sort of thing last year, but they didn't, so I'm kind of happy they did this year. The downsides? The scares kind of fall flat. Last year, they knew what they were doing, and even though you knew what was going on, they were still dishing out the scares with supreme gusto. This year, meh. Could have been better, especially considering what I dealt with last year. Second problem, the greatest strength of this movie, the mystery aspect, also happens to be its greatest weakness. I mean, I pretty much figured out what was going on midway through the film, and who was behind it. Still, figuring out how it was done was a nice touch. All said and done, would I recommend this movie? Sure. I don't see why not. I mean, don't get me wrong, last year's entry was a lot better. I mean, a lot better. But this one's still enjoyable, and the laughs are still pretty decent, even if the scares aren't. Also, on a personal note, I think we, as a viewing audience, need more cozy Halloween movies. What do I mean by cozy Halloween movies? I mean, movies that deliver the appropriate amount of scares, but in the end, everything turns out alright. Because that's what Halloween is. It's not dangerous, it's not harmful, it's not hurtful, and you get your scary worries out, and then you move on. So yeah, I'm hoping this becomes a tradition for Tyler Perry. More Madea Halloween movies, please. As well, I'm hoping it's a stepping stone for more similar movies to come. Hey, if you enjoyed this review, click like and subscribe to view more in the near future. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, stay tuned. I have something special planned for the 31st of October. Halloween!